Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is Troy with Cichlid Bros. In today's video, we have a very special one because we finally have an update on my new 135 gallon custom aquarium. This is the tall tank that me and Quinn unboxed on January 25th, so that's about 75 days ago. This video is going to span about 2.5 months of setting up the aquarium, stocking it, aquascaping it, setting up the equipment, everything to do with this tank. There were quite a few trials and tribulations and issues I dealt with. I'm going to share the good, bad, and the ugly, the entire process of this video. So let's dive right in. So in part one, I actually got some help from Quinn for once, and we unboxed the aquarium and got it down here. We put the Carib Sea Sunset Gold sand in, we filled up the tank, and we got one of the filters running, a Cichlid Whale 500, along with the Cichlid Extreme SDC Wavemaker, and their heater, the Scuba Contactless Heater, which I use in most of my aquariums. So I'm very excited for this new custom aquarium, which is very unique in terms of dimensions because it is 36 inches tall. It is a very tall and thin tank, so I definitely wanted to go with a respectable brand in custom aquariums to make sure there's no issues with seals or anything like that in such a tall tank. I also wanted these dimensions because it's right here when you walk down into my basement. It's the first thing you see, so I wanted a wow factor, something that would really grab your attention right away. I also didn't want it sticking out too far in the path when you're walking down throughout my basement, so this is a perfect spot with the perfect dimensions, and I couldn't wait for the unique stocking capabilities that we could have for a tank of this height. So in this video, we're gonna go fish shopping at one of my favorite local fish stores, but we're also gonna have 3 separate fish unboxings as we fully stock this tank because there are some rare fish species that I'm really excited about. Also, there's gonna be a live plant unboxing. We're gonna be installing a lot of new equipment and just completely finishing this tank, and I can't wait. I did have some inspiration from some tanks I saw over the last year. Specifically when I was in Interzoo, I absolutely loved this rainbowfish tank. It really got my wheels turning on a tank that I could have rainbowfish, and then I started thinking of some rare cichlids that could go with them, and so I started to keep this Asian region, specifically Southeast Asia, in mind as we started to stock and set up this tank fully. So without further ado, let's go to the first stop, that's cichlids. To get this tank cycled and ready for fish soon, we are adding a little bit of food every day as well as some sea chem stability. This is beneficial bacteria in the bottle. Just add it right to the tank, and this should be ready to go. Also, right when we add the fish, we will be adding some of this every day to make sure the tank is cycled along with the fish. Well guys, we are back at one of my new favorite local fish stores, That's Cichlids and Reptiles, where we did a full YouTube video about a month ago, but we are back to get more fish. Let's go in. Look at these massive Geophagus spini. Absolutely beautiful. There's 3 huge adults in here. Some great color. Really tempted to get them. Some really big Nicaraguan cichlids, and you can see right there one of the fish I would really like to get. It's a yo-yo loach. Here are those massive tilapia that I saw last time. This is kind of what I came here for. Something like this. These beautiful rainbows. A lot of different types in here. Could go with the size like this, with kind of a mixed type of rainbow fish. We're over here with the Bosemani rainbow fish. I really like the pure line of Bosemanis, and this looks like a good mix of males and females. A little bit smaller than the other group, but I think this would look great in the tank. And this store just has tank after tank, so many fish. You got albino Malawi eye biters, got an Oscar here, got threadfin rainbows here, Bosemanis we just saw, awesome looking green terrors. Look at all these guys. Ton of rainbow cichlids next to some blue rams, a lot of those. A bunch of piranha down here, some really good size on these guys in activity. And they look a lot like these guys, silver dollars. A couple big Oscars there, looking great. And obviously this place has so many African cichlids that we showed in the other video. This tank after tank stocked full of African cichlids. You can't go to a better place than That's Cichlids when it comes to African cichlids. Then you have some Geophagus proximus here. I also came here for some driftwood, so we'll definitely be picking some of this out for the tank as well. And this whole aisle is the breeding groups of massive Malawi cichlids, haps and peacocks mostly, but some mbuna as well. Just row after row and tank after tank. Look at how many exochromis are in this tank.
some pretty rare Lake Tanganyika fish here. Really big electric locara there, and right there, some awesome redhead topos, a beautiful albino heckelite. A lot of electric locara down here. Only $10, it's a great deal.
So now that I know what fish I want, I was trying to pick out the driftwood, and Justin, the store owner who I showed in a previous video, just brought me back here to the back warehouse where he has these massive pallets of driftwood, so there's way more that he can always bring to the front of the store, but I'm gonna go through this and try and pick some tall pieces for the tall aquarium, and I got a lot of work to do, so let's get to it. So here are a few pieces I really liked, especially because they are tall, and we are trying to fill out a little bit of the top of the aquarium since it's such a tall tank. It's kind of what I'm looking for, these vertical pieces with a lot of space to swim in and around for all the community fish, schooling fish, the loaches, everything else that I go for. And then we have this big piece, which I absolutely loved, but I feel like it's more of a centerpiece for a normal size aquarium, since the top of this would only be about halfway up the top of this tall tank. So I think some of these pieces would be a little bit better because they go a little bit higher. And guys, we got Paxton here bagging the fish. You saw him in the last video. What you getting for me here?
I'm getting some pregnant female yo-yo loaches.
All right.
So it's kind of cool because these yo-yo loaches, whether they're male or female, they actually say yo-yo on the side of them.
Yeah, they have awesome design, don't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Very cool.
Now it is time to acclimate the fish we just bought from Dat Cichlids, including these beautiful rainbow fish. I've really wanted rainbows. We'll talk more about this in a second. Let's go ahead and get them temperature acclimated. Then we have some super interesting fish here. These are yo-yo loaches, and I thought about getting clown loaches for this tank, but they do get really big once they are adults, whereas yo-yo loaches stay a little bit smaller. So I believe we have 9 Bosemani rainbow fish here, including 2 or 3 males, the rest females, which is a good mix. I also think I'll probably end up getting more of these rainbows soon, but for now I think it's a good amount to go in this tank and let the cycle catch up with this amount of fish that we're putting in here. And then right here we have the yo-yo loaches, and I just love the activity of loaches. They're mostly bottom dwellers. They'll hide out a lot, they'll scavenge the bottom of the tank, but they have some really cool behavior and activity, and that's why I wanted to go with them. Both species are from the same general area in Asia, and you're going to continue to see that theme with more species we add to this tank throughout the video. But very excited to have these quality specimens. I'm also probably going to need to put some temporary decor in this tank because the driftwood I got needs to soak for a bit. Okay, so here's the tank a few days after I added some of the fish, and it got so cloudy, and it is to blame the yo-yo loaches. They completely stirred up the sand substrate, which is new sand that wasn't washed originally, but normally that is completely okay as long as you don't have fish completely destroying it. But they were kind of spooked when they first went in here. I added just a couple temporary pieces of decor for them to hide in. But yeah, the tank is very cloudy, and we're going to get this fixed in the video hopefully. But as we're still waiting for the driftwood to soak and a few other things to come in for the scape, I'm going to get to work on this. So this is the new mounting system with the radions. I think this is going to look incredible above the tank. Let's get to it. Alright, so this is the railing that the 2 radions will slide on. And this is the multi-arm radion mounting system. So we have these 2 arms. So each arm will be on the side of the tank with the rail going from end to end. I think it's going to look awesome above the tank. So this is our first of 2 different fish shipments that we have coming this week. It's been a really busy week. I got many projects going on. One of the bags in here will be going into the new tall aquarium, and one of the bags will be going in another tank, which we'll be showing probably in another video. So we're going to go ahead and show what's in this box. This is from Global Fish Co., which I've ordered from online a few times now. Probably the second most I've ordered from outside of Imperial Tropicals. I just feel like they always have a good selection of cichlids, and what I have here is relatively rare. So I've been on the lookout for these cichlids for a long time, and I only saw one available on their site, so I had to jump on it. And then along with that, I also ordered fish that I saw they had that I've been looking for the fish room. So a lot going on here. All right, so first bag is for the other room, so we'll show that in a future video. And then this bag should be going into the tall aquariums. So this guy is tiny, and this is a really unique cichlid. This is actually an Asian cichlid. It is one of 3 cichlid species that are originating from Asia. So this really fits with the theme of the tank, with the rainbowfish and the yo-yo loaches, everything kind of coming from Southeast Asia. But these guys are kind of like a small gold zebrum. They're orange chromide cichlids. They'll probably get up to about 4 to 5 inches, so not too big. I've actually wanted to get a few more of these to maybe have a small group in this new tall aquarium, but for the meantime I saw this guy available, and I will keep my eye open for more of them to come available on any other site. But I was just really intrigued by a few of these species that originate from Asia that aren't commonly kept or known of. The orange chromide gets really orange when they grow a little bigger. The green chromide is another one of those species, and it's a little bit bigger. They get up to 8 to 10 inches and obviously green with black, whereas the orange chromide is a different species that stays a little bit smaller. Don't mind the actual tank right now with the floating piece of driftwood and the unfinished lighting system. There are many things happening down here in my fishing room all at once, but we are going to get this whole tank set up today, in the video at least. And everything will look good at the end, I think, but it's kind of an unnatural sequence of events. But anyway, let's go ahead and get this guy into the tank. And off he goes. He's a real little guy. Probably smaller, or just as small as some of the little rainbows. But he should be just fine, and he'll grow up hopefully pretty fast in here. Also, we have a new member of the family here. We have Theo helping me out. He's gonna be Rambo's little brother. So day 2 of fish deliveries, and this one is from Imperial Tropicals. And again, I did make these 2 different orders because of the stocking availability. So when we picked up that school of rainbow fish from Dat Cichlids and I put it in the big tank, I immediately wished I got more. So when I was making this broader order for another tank, I went ahead and ordered 3 more rainbow fish, and these are really good size. It is 1 male and 2 females, so kind of keeping that ratio with this school of rainbow fish. Felt like having 12 of them would look much better than 9, so I'm gonna go ahead and add this to the big tank and have a really nice school of rainbow fish. All right, here we go. 3 new guys. Joining their new family. We will come back and check these guys out later. This is about 3 weeks after I picked up the rainbow fish and the yo-yo loaches from Dat Cichlids, and it took a couple weeks for these big pieces of driftwood to finally sink to the bottom, and you can just see how much tannins are in this water. It was cloudy at first when I added the fish because the yo-yo loaches stirred up the sand, but after a day or 2 that really cleared up pretty quickly. It was the tannins that really made this tank look cloudy. You can see it has that brown tea coloration to it. That's totally normal, but I just didn't expect the driftwood to take this long to sink and have this much tannins. And this is only one of the pieces of driftwood that I got. The other one has been soaking in a tote for the last couple weeks. So we're gonna do a water change here, and this will help reduce some of those tannins and gradually get them out of the water with the water changes. The tannins themselves do not hurt the fish. Some fish, like South American cichlids for instance, they actually like tannins in their water. But we're gonna go ahead and do a water change and get that second big piece of decor in here. Just wanted to show you the behind the scenes of the good, bad, and ugly. It's not always perfect, but this is totally fine. We just have to be patient, and that's also why this video is gonna take a little bit longer to come out for this part 2. We just started the water change, but you can see that all 12 rainbow fish are doing great. They love actually swimming in the current of the wave maker. And then you have yo-yo loaches that are all throughout the wood. They find the smallest nooks and crannies to hide behind. And then right here is the small little orange chromide cichlid. He's doing great. I am still looking for some more chromides, so hopefully I'll have a couple more of those for the release of this video, but at this point I still have not found any others in stock. Oh my god, it's not gonna float, or it is gonna float. I thought it was completely waterlogged in that tote, but apparently not. So just gonna delay this a little bit further.
It's been 84 years.
We're gonna have this one floating until it sinks, and then we have this other piece that's actually waterlogged. Just kind of how it goes, I guess. I think the final look at this tank is gonna be worth the wait, so thank you for your patience, but we'll probably skip ahead in time here in the video. See you there. So a couple days after the water change, you can see the tank is looking better, but still definitely has a lot of tannins. I'll probably have to do a couple more water changes, maybe even use some chemical filtration on this tank to get some of those tannins out. Also, that driftwood that's been leaching the tannins, one of the logs is still floating, so we're still waiting on that. But the main update today is that we did encounter another issue. One of the new fish, one of the rainbow fish, I noticed had ick. So we did get a bunch of fish from 3 different locations, and they're in a new aquarium with new inhabitants, so it is something common. And this is technically a really big quarantine tank, since none of these guys were going in separate quarantine tanks. They were all going into this big aquarium. So the only issue with that is that the medication I'm going to be using for ick is going to have to be a much larger volume, meaning more expensive. So if you do have a smaller quarantine tank, an issue like this would be nice, but I am jam-packed with fish at the moment, so we're just gonna have to treat this entire aquarium, all the fish. One of the rainbow fish has it pretty bad, and it looks like one of the male rainbow fish has it just a bit. So hopefully everything clears up and we continue progressing with this tank build. So even though I haven't had ick for many years down there in my fish room, in the past my go-to has always been Sea Chem Paragard. It is 1 capful for every 10 gallons, so this is about a 130 to 140 gallon tank. So we're gonna do about 13 or 14 capfuls of this. So that's where it gets expensive.
I'm in debt up to my eyeballs.
3 days later, it's still floating. So it is another day and another fish delivery. This one is from the wet spot. And I would say this is kind of the grand finale when it comes to the stocking of this tank, because this is pretty much the biggest one that I wanted for this aquarium. And I'm really excited for it. But let's go ahead and see this first bag here. So these are 9 snakeskin barbs. So these again come from Southeast Asia. So it's gonna fit in really nicely with the theme of this tank. But these are kind of like more peaceful, less fin nippy versions of the tiger barb. And they have, in my opinion, a better pattern with that snakeskin pattern along their side with the orange and black. These guys are gonna look really good once they get in the tank and color up a bit. And next up we have a couple cichlids that again are pretty rare. Oh, this guy looks great. Is the green chromide cichlid. And similar to the orange chromide cichlid that we unboxed earlier in the video, this comes from Asia and the same general area as the orange chromide. And this is the other green chromide cichlid. So we got 2 of these to go along with the 1 orange chromide. So technically this will be a cichlid tank. When it comes to this green chromide, he will get kind of a similar size and body shape as an adult severum. So the green gets a little bigger than the orange, but both are incredible fish. So we got the new fish in the tank. I'm really excited about them. The snakeskin barbs and the 2 green chromides. And we're gonna get a better look at them once they settle into the tank. We're gonna turn off the lights and let them settle in. So you may be wondering about the ick issue I had about a week ago. And unfortunately I did lose one of the rainbow fish. It didn't make it through the medication process, but the few others that were infected have recovered fully. I've continued to treat the tank and I haven't seen any signs of ick in probably 4 or 5 days. So I'm going to continue to treat the tank with the new fish. This is basically a really big quarantine tank since we're getting fish from multiple deliveries and multiple sources. So hopefully with that continued treatment of the tank, there will be no issues, and anything that the new fish would bring in would also be helped with the medication. Also, I do have the driftwood piece pinned down with some rocks. I am trying my hardest to get this thing to stay submerged. And also, I've done probably 5 or 6 water changes on this tank in the last 2 weeks, and the tannins are still really thick. So these 2 pieces of driftwood have contributed a ton of tannins. So hopefully we get this thing looking cleared up, the fish looking good, and we can have a really nice aquascape here within this video, but we will see. So we're going to unbox some live plants from Dustin's fish tanks. This is my first time ordering from him, but I did see some of his TikToks and they kind of made me laugh. Plus the plants look pretty good. So let's go ahead and see what we got today. Look out, buddy. But we have our first plant here. This is an Anubias. We have a couple Anubias plants. And by a couple, I mean a lot. But there we go, we got some more Anubias here. 12 different plants here going in a mix of my aquariums. But for the custom aquarium, I'm going to mostly be doing the Anubias, and then the rest will be spread out. And couldn't be happier with this order. They all look great. It is the next day after that live plant unboxing. We do have the Anubias pots in here temporarily. Didn't want to secure it to anything while everything's going to be moving anyway. We are doing a bigger water change today, not only for the tannins to continue removing that, but also because we've gone through multiple rounds of medication for the ick that we had, and I'm happy to report that looks like it has been completely removed. 3 or 4 other rainbow fish definitely had ick. They had a lot covered throughout their body, and I also saw 2 of the yo-yo loaches that were really struggling for a bit. But those rounds of medication with the Sea-Chem Paragard has cleared it up really nicely. As this is draining, I'm also going to try and stand up the driftwood. So it's been submerged with a rock on top of it. It was really hard with the vertical pieces to tie them down in any way. That this piece here has been submerged, which is great, but this piece had continued to float. So I'm hoping to at least get it vertical for the time being, and then we'll start tying the plants to everything and getting some rocks and other pieces of the stay core together. Well, I thought I had it, but this piece of driftwood just will not sink, and it floated up to the top at the last second. So I think we're like 99% there in terms of getting it submerged. So we'll come back in a few days and hopefully be able to put it in its final spot and get the plants attached to the driftwood. Yeah. A lot of fails on this one. Alright guys, we are back, and I'm not sure what day in the build this is. It's been a long time coming, but the tank has cleared up a little bit. Some of the sand has settled, and the tannins have slowly been removed through water changes. One of the biggest updates is the driftwood is so close to sinking. Once this piece is able to fully submerge, I am going to add some plants to the scape, and we're going to get this looking so much better. Also, I just got to notice that the piece of the mounts that I need for the lights, it's a little piece, it's a little bracket, it's in the mail and should be here very soon, so I will be able to get the really nice lights up on here, which will also make the tank look great. Right now I'm just using a temporary Fluval Aquascape that I've used in the past, so it's just a temporary light. I have my next filter I need to add to this tank, so we're going to be unboxing and setting up the second Sea Whale 500. And I also have some Sea-Chem Purigen, which I'm going to put in the new filter, and it's really going to help clear up the tannins quicker. And we're going to get this looking crystal clear and the aquascape set up, so let's get to setting up this new canister. I was debating on even getting a second filter because I think the one Sea Whale would do just fine. But I kind of like the extra filtration and going above and beyond. Plus I can add some Sea-Chem Purigen to this and help clear up everything in the tank. And it's always nice to have redundancy with 2 filters in case something happens to one of them. The other could definitely power this tank as long as it needed. But we're going to go ahead and get this set up very quickly. We have 4 trays here with a lot of sponges and the chemical filtration that already comes in the Sea Whale. We're going to go ahead and use that as well. And we're going to put in 2 bags of Purigen to go along with this chemical filtration. And I think after running that for a few days, the tannin should really clear up quick. All right, and now I'm just adding water into the canister almost all the way to the top, just so that it doesn't have to suck any water down into it and it primes much quicker. Now we got to get the hose and the intake and outtake. Try to push this down a little bit just to test. See, the driftwood wants to go. It barely comes back up slowly. Because there's so much flow now, I'm going to turn down the wave maker flow just a bit. So I'm going to turn it down to about 40% just so it's not blowing these guys all over the place. But we will come back another day. So it has been 2 days since I installed that second canister filter down below with the Sea-Chem Purigen, and you can see it is much clearer than it has been in the past. And also the biggest update is the driftwood piece finally sank. So we're going to be able to finish aquascaping today, hopefully. But as we're doing this water change, I'm going to pull out both pieces of driftwood and all the Anubias plants and get them tied into place. And I'm just going to be using this thread here to tie it to the driftwood. You could use glue, but because these are already wet, I'm just going to use this. It should stay much better. And I also have a couple fake plants if we want to fill in some of the back as well. I have one in there temporarily. I kind of like it. Kind of fills in the tank and looks nice, especially as we wait for some of these live plants to really grow in. So my least favorite part about these potted plants is getting it out of this, I don't even know what the material is, whatever's in that pot, like this mossy filth, and trying to make sure you get them all cleaned off before they go in the tank, and it like never comes off cleanly. All right, I like this spot for one of the plants. I may not even need to tie that one, could just sit there nicely. It's a very tedious process tying these very small threads. It's kind of hard to tie it. Now we have our other piece of driftwood out of the tank, and we're going to be tying these 4 plants to it. There's like a good spot right there. And if you're wondering about aquascaping a tank of this height, if it's a pain, it absolutely is. But I think the aesthetic and the look is well worth it once it's actually in place. Probably not going to have it all finished today. Probably going to come back in a few days when this is no longer happening. A couple days later, I just finished about a 30% water change. We got both driftwood pieces in place. The plants are going to start thriving and growing here very soon, and it's going to be helped by the next update. Kind of the finale of this build is the Ecotech Radions, which we are going to install now. We've had the brackets up there. The new Radions that we install is going to really set this tank apart. Also, I really love lights that hang over tanks like this, and it's definitely going to penetrate all the way to the bottom of this deep aquarium. So let's get these installed and check it out. So we have light number 1 going on here, and we got screwed in, tighten it. Let's get the second one. Radion number 2 going up. Got one on. All right, and we got the second on. These guys are awesome. Let's get this light off. So we got the new lights installed, and they look incredible above the tank. They make it look even taller if that was even possible. But I'm probably actually going to tweak the settings in the app because this is almost too much light. So get a nice dynamic effect if I turn it down just a bit. So we'll come back in a few days, but to you, it's in a couple seconds. Well guys, it is finally complete. It is April 9th, so about 75 days since you saw me and Quinn unbox this video in part 1, but I am so excited that the tank has finally started to clear up. The Sea Chem Purigen started clearing the water, as well as the water changes to get some of those tannins out, and the fish are really starting to look good, color up, and really settle in. So first off, let's quickly go over the stocking of this tank, starting with the green chromide cichlids. There are 2 of them in here, and they're pretty small right now, but they're gonna grow to be the biggest in this fish, and really the centerpiece, I think. They're gonna get some really cool green and black and speckling coloration. We actually saw some large green chromide adults at Riff Water's fish room tour that we did, and they were absolutely stunning fish, and I can't wait for them to get this size. And then I have the orange chromide cichlid, just one of them for now. I might get more in the future, but this one isn't very impressive right now, like a lot of fish in here, but it is gonna grow nicely and get some really great orange coloration. And if I can find some more orange chromide cichlids out there with the right size and the right dealer, then I will likely order them and add them to have a small group in this tank. And then we have 11 Bozeman rainbow fish, 4 males and 7 females. Remember, we did lose one of them when we saw ick in the tank. It was a female that we lost, unfortunately, but the rest of the fish have recovered and done well. So we have 11 rainbow fish, which was really the inspiration for this tank to start. And then I started thinking of those Asian cichlids, and I just developed the full stock list off of that. Really excited to finally have these rainbows and have them swimming very actively across the top and middle of the tank. And it's really interesting. These rainbow fish are very active eaters. They will attack the surface and splash me anytime I feed the tank, almost as if they were African cichlids. But I love the rainbow fish and the color that they already have. You can see the males are very colorful already. And then we have our school of snakeskin barbs, which I really love. They're kind of underrated in my opinion because the tiger barb is so popular, but the snakeskin barb has some really unique patterns as well. These guys will grow a little bit and color up definitely as they mature. They are not really schooling fish, but they do stay kind of in the same vicinity, usually around the mid-level of the tank. So I got the rainbows up top, we got the snakeskin barbs kind of in the middle, and then at the bottom we have our yo-yo loaches, which I'm so excited about. We have 9 of them. All of them have pretty good size. A few of them might grow a little bit, but this is kind of the max size for a few of them. And they have that really unique pattern along their body that almost spells out yo-yo, which is where they get their name. I really wanted clown loaches originally, but even though they grow slowly, clown loaches get massive and they would probably outgrow this tank after a few years. So I wanted to go with yo-yo loaches that provide a lot of the same behavior, and they have a much more manageable size so they could stay in this tank for the full duration. I wouldn't have to worry about upgrading a tank down the line. But the full stock list is 2 green chromide cichlids, 1 orange chromide cichlid, 11 rainbow fish, 9 snakeskin barbs, and 9 yo-yo loaches, and all these will put on much more size and really start to fill in the tank. It might look kind of empty as if I could add more to this tank, and I probably could, but I'm just going to let all these fish grow out into their full maturity, and I think it will make this tank look fully stocked once they hit that stage. And then with the Aquascape, I really love the 2 tall driftwood pieces. The sand is my favorite. I love the gray rocks at the bottom, where a lot of the yo-yo loaches swim in and out of the rock caves and structures. But we also added a lot of Anubias plants that are pretty small at the moment, but just like my 150 gallon custom aquarium, when we first set up that tank, it wasn't overly impressive, but once the plants and the fish grew in, it really exploded and looks incredible. But that's what we're going for here, is having the Anubias slowly grow and fill out much more space in the tank along with the fish growth. I think it's really gonna all come together over the next few months and especially within the next year. I also love this tank because I was able to add some of my favorite products and equipment in the tank itself that I loved in some of my other setups. I already talked about the Carib Sea Sunset Gold Sand, which is my absolute favorite. Also the equipment, 2 Cichlids Whale 500 canisters. Also my favorite wave maker, the Cichlids Extreme SDC. And then we have to talk about the Ecotech Radion lights. I did call an audible on this because the railing that went around, I couldn't really figure out the brackets to go around the lids from custom aquariums, which are really thick, heavy duty lids. So I did call that audible, and I changed the brackets to 2 solo mounts coming over the tank, and I absolutely love that dynamic. And any aquarium is if I could have the lights overarching the tank like this. It's also easy access to the lids when you're feeding the tank, but I think it adds something to this as well. It's such a tall tank, but when you're adding lights overarching like this, it almost goes all the way to the ceiling, covering this entire wall and really providing that wow factor when you walk down to my basement. You also get this really cool angle of my 3 custom aquariums that I couldn't be more happy to have down here. But these Radions are super powerful. I have them turned down very, very low, and they're still reaching all the way to the bottom of this tall aquarium. So couldn't be happier with the lighting choices as well. And then of course the custom aquariums, the quality just can't be beat. I would not have gone with a tall tank like this if I did not trust the manufacturer. With the really nice seams, I did not want a tall tank tipping over or a seal breaking with the pressure being so hard on the seals of a tank this height. So I really love everything that came together with this custom aquarium build and the setup. I cannot wait to see these fish grow, the plants grow in, and to keep some of these fish for the first time, and these cichlids that are relatively rare. So I hope you enjoyed seeing the full setup of this tank. We're going to be showing a lot more of it on the channel, and it will still clear up a bit more, so you'll probably see some progress over the next few months as we share it more and more on the channel. So thanks again for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.